Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashikritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Gukarastvandakaro Vai Rukarastvanivartakaha Andhakara Nirodhitvat Gururitya Vidhiyate Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So what we are studying and thinking about is one of the steps of the Nididhyasanam called Driksthitihi, or you can even say Drishtisthitihi. But the Drishtisthiti, the place where one should rest. Sthiti means the place for resting. That's where it is. So the place for resting could be called Drishtisthiti, but it is actually Driksthiti. It is not where you reside, that you should reside in yourself. So this is what we are going to explain today a little bit in more detail, and continuing on from, I think, the foundation, what is in Sanskrit called Bhumika. So we had already established the Bhumika in the last 2 weeks, I think. We have been talking about the foundation of this Driksthiti in the form of the following thing. And this is, as I mentioned to you, this was one of the big contributions of Swami Akhandananda Ji that I grasped when I was reading many of his books, and this was a very common fundamental theme of his teaching. Common fundamental aspect of the sadhana. Of sadhana means how exactly should I really make sure that I am looking at the reality that I am rather than the non-reality that I take myself to be. So this is the essence of the sadhana that he was talking about. So the sadhana that he said was, and great insight that he gave to many of us, including myself. He said that in your looking at things in the world, we are naturally used to be looking at things other than myself. Naturally. We are completely absorbed in it. We are looking at nuances of it, variations of it, but sticking to the world that we see as an objectifiable entity. And this is what we are involved in. And our this is what would be called Drishtisthiti, the current Drishtisthiti. So the current Drishtisthiti means that you don't go outside of that. You don't go outside of that, because when we wake up in the morning, there is a world that I face with various aspects of it. Various aspects of the world that I face. The aspect of the past, regrets. The aspect of the present, worry. And being busy, and the aspect of the future, which means concern, fear, uncertainty. So this is the world that I live in. This is what I am involved in. And within the world, I try to make as much progress as I am capable of. Whatever my thinking is, whatever my situation in life is, that gives me a little vantage point in trying to negotiate the various options that I have. And if I am doing well, then I choose good options. If not doing well, then I make mistakes and go into bad options. Bad options means unpleasant options. But in the world, I am just completely involved in one aspect or the other. What Vedanta teaches is, that's fine, you can continue to do that, but there is a world beyond this aspect of the world. There is some entity beyond this which you need to look into. And we are unaware of it. And even when we are made aware of it, we are incapable of it. This is exactly what happens. See, so going from really paroksha jnanam, the paroksha jnanam is what is introduced to you as a possibility of the world beyond what you experience. Because as we said, we are totally bound by what I see. I stay within the boundaries of what I see. But Vedanta says there is something beyond what you see. And so that is introduced in the paroksha jnana, that you are the person who has a independent existence apart from the world that you see. Aren't you interested in looking into that? And I'm surprised by that, of course, because I had no idea that's a possibility. But the interesting thing is that even when I am listening and I'm paying attention, it is such a different way of looking at things that I don't pay much attention to it. Even if I want to pay attention to it, I'm incapable of fully appreciating the swarupa, the nature of this world that the Shastra tells us about. And so the Shastra knows this, and he says, you're not, it doesn't look down upon you or anything. He says, we know. This is exactly what one has to go through. So this is the transition from paroksha jnanam to aparoksha jnanam. And so the very title of this book, Aparoksha Anubhuti, and the whole topic of this book, Aparoksha Anubhuti, is to enable me, is to equip me, is to make me powerful enough and subtle enough to appreciate the world which is outside what I see. This is the purpose of the teaching. This is the purpose of the insight. And so this whole fact was brought into focus for me in a very nice teaching by Swami Akhandananda ji. And it's not as though I didn't know about it before, but the skill with which he manipulates our thoughts, manipulates is the wrong word, is to really make our thoughts go into that direction, is the sadhana. And here this drishti sthiti and drik sthiti epitomizes this best out of any of the other nididhyasanam steps that we have gone through. I felt that. This is where kind of like I started to sit down and focus on this. So this is why I'm spending a few classes on this. And so now we've already provided the background for it and bhumika for it, foundation for it. And so now let us go into the verses themselves and some direct explanation of these verses by Swami Akhandananda ji. So we started to see this in the last class, which is verse number 116 of the Aparoksha Anubhuti, as you know, was composed by Adi Shankara himself. And so it says, Drishtim Jnanamayim Kritva Pashyet Brahmamayam Jagat Sa Drishti Parama Udara Nasa Agra Avalokani. Nasau Agra Avalokini. So he says, may you see the Jagat. Jagat means all this your experiences of the world, what you see, what you objectify. May you see it by Jnanamayim. Because right now, I am looking at it as Ajnanamayim. Mayim means endowed with. Jnanamayim means endowed with knowledge, with truth. So right now, and so if you want to just to see the example of this Jnanamayim versus Ajnanamayim, what it would mean is that supposing you mistake the rope for a snake, and so it's interesting, if you make a mistake, these are all real life examples, they are not concocted. And this is why this is such an important example in our Shastra, because it is the most stark example of how Ajnanamayim Drishti can create such a problem for you. And Ajnanamayi Drishti means a false way of looking at things. This is what is called Ajnanamayim Drishti. A false way of looking at things means that for whatever reason you made a mistake, you did not take a rope to be rope, but you mistook it, whatever reason. But it is a mistake, but now you are reveling in it. Interestingly enough, supposing once you see something and your mind says, I think this is a snake, and then all kinds of funny things happen. It sees like it's moving. Your mind can move and it can make the snake move. Little bit. Then all the fear. My gosh, it is inside the room. And where will it go? And for those of us that know how poisonous snakes, it can kill you. It's not just simple some small bug or something like this. Then the fear comes in. And the interesting thing is, whether you are now looking at it or not, you can actually go away from it, but the image of the snake will stay in your mind bothering you. You will still be, even if you just go away, even if supposing you go outside the door and you lock the door, what is your thinking? Your thinking is there is a snake inside. How am I going to catch it? I think I was telling you this just to do this. This is about 15 years ago. I actually saw a snake in my garage. A real snake. And I recognize snakes. I've seen so many of them. And how, the background of growing up with it was so fearful and so on. And I think the garage door was open for a while. I don't know how it got in or something. It was open, obviously. It is sitting inside my garage. Now I have to deal with it. And what I'm trying to do is to find a stick that will keep me a bit away from it, so I can try to push it out or something. I was very fortunate. There was a broomstick, and my broomsticks are a big problem because we have a lot of workers that come into the home. They borrow the broomstick and never put it back to where they got it from, because I'm very particular. If there is an area where I put broomsticks, it should be there. And so I started to see, do I have a broomstick? And luckily it was there. My job was done. So I took one end of the stick and started to push the snake with the broom side, which was quite wide, and so it provided a certain pushing surface for the snake. And the snake was started to move, but then with some fear, I just corralled it and kept moving it out. And even if I'm out of the garage, I wanted to make sure it doesn't come back in. So I had to do it like 30, 40 feet. And then it just started to go away. I'm happy I didn't have to kill it. But if there was a necessity, I had to kill it. So anyway, so what I'm saying is that Ajnanamayi drishti means, supposing this was a real snake, so that's a separate thing, issue altogether. Supposing I have an idea that there is a snake and inside the room. Now, even if I am not seeing it directly, because now if the door is closed, my fear is still there. My estimation of what I have to deal with is still there. This is the effect of ignorance. That the byproduct of the ignorance will stay with you no matter where you are. So this is exactly what is called, so just now look at what the verse is saying. He says that may you see the jagat with jnanamayi drishti. Because right now I'm seeing the jagat with ajnanamayim drishti. Ajnanamayim drishti means I take the jagat to be a vast set of experiences that I have to deal with. And so part of that conclusion, it has two parts to that conclusion, and they are both interdependent on each other. You see? Because when I see when I experience the world without knowing the truth about it, there are two aspects of it, and they are both interdependent. One is that I become extremely small and limited, only limited by my body, my sense organs, and my mind. This is where I am. I become this small. And the whole world becomes enormously big, antagonistic at times, uncertain at times, difficult at times, some pleasantness at times, but something that I have to deal with. And it is reinforced by my entire life. It's not as though it just disappears all of a sudden. It's not going to disappear. Why? Because I have closed the door to it, so to speak. The door to it is closed because I do not see that there is a mistake. I don't even entertain the fact that there is a mistake. I take it to be variations of the same mistake. So in case I close the door to a snake, now I'm only dealing with what should I do? Who's going to open the door again? Is it going to spring up on me? Or is it going to be worse still, go into the many crevices of this room with underneath the sofa? And how are we going to take it out? So all those fears emanate from the basic ajnanamayim drishti. So here Adi Shankara says that may you see that the world, you are looking at the world in erroneously. There is no other way to escape the effect of the world except to see that there is something, it is not there. That is a fact. Because I don't even accept the fact that it is not there. I don't, even if the Shastra says it is not there, I say, how is that possible? Because I see it, I deal with it, it's my problem. You cannot just come and, just give some lectures to me and then it will disappear. It doesn't appear. So, these are the very doubts that we have. I think I've told this to you many times before, that I remember having a heart-to-heart talk with Swami Dayanand Ji after the PRC course, where it was we had a very heavy dose of the knowledge and so on. But my experience of life was still quite palpable. It's not as though I wasn't listening or I wasn't studying. I was very sincere. Obviously, I took 2.5 years away from my life to just study it full time. You can imagine, like a sannyasi. I did that. Despite that, the experiences of life were still there. So at the end of that, I took some time, because I used to see Swami Dayanand Ji quite often. He would come and stay right here in this room where I'm talking to, in this house rather, perhaps even in this room. And so I had plenty of opportunity to just have a heart-to-heart, one-for-one type of a talk. And I used to tell Swamiji, my experiences have not gone. This is in 1982, sometime in 82, and then several visits by him that we would arrange in the mid-80s. until the Sailorsburg ashram got established. And at that point, then his visits to the West Coast diminished, and then the Sailorsburg ashram came up. So at that time, I had several very personal talks with him, and I remember this so well. I used to ask him, I said, Swamiji, my experiences of life have not completely changed this, even though I've been studying. His answer was very precise, very correct, and very short. He looked straight to me in my eyes and said, you just have to clear your doubts. And when he said that, it's not as though I would question him and saying, what do you mean by doubts? And really, no. I accepted it right there and then. When a Mahatma like Swamiji would tell you something, you don't challenge it. You don't have a debate. You think about it, but you accept it. And I remember this so well. Those words have been with me since then. That's what really mananam is. You have to think about it. You have to clear your doubts. And the doubts are, this world is real. How can the Shastra be telling me that it doesn't exist? Because I see it as being existing. And so there, it depends on who do you trust more? Really, this is what it comes down to. If there are two different viewpoints, two opposite viewpoints in fact, one which says that the world is real, and the other one which says the world is not real, which of these two viewpoints do you trust? This is the crux of it. So, and the Shastra doesn't say, it doesn't force you to think. It doesn't say, oh, don't worry about the world. You just keep listening to me and it'll be okay. So this is where Shraddha is so important. Somewhere in your own development of your own personality, you begin to develop a sixth sense that yes, what is being talked about is not a joke. There's no agenda. This is the truth. And when you pursue the truth, it also helps you to understand the defects of your taking the world to be real. In other words, it says, examine it. Examine it. And to see that the factors based on which you are taking the world to be real are faulty. They are not thought through. This is what Brahma is. Brahma is that you have a false idea, and the falsity of the idea has to be inquired into, because I don't take it to be false. So the Shastra very gently says, it's not the truth. This is the truth. And let me tell you why that is not also the truth. So there, Shruti, Yukti has to be involved. So there, This is what it says. Drishtim jnanamayim kritva pashyed brahmamayam jagat. May you see the entire world as nothing but Brahman, which is yourself. Just like the entire dream that we have is nothing but me alone. So now we have to, this is just a fulcrum on which you have to start thinking about it. How is that possible? I accept it, that's my experience. But somehow the waking state looks very different. It isn't. It is the same thing. The dream is just a sampling. It is called Linga Sharira. Linga Sharira means it has some aspects of inquiry, that's all, as we have seen. Again, I'm running out of time. I had no idea that we will have such a long discussion on this. So I had a I had a lot of things that I wanted to talk to you about this particular verse. So we will keep it to next time because I'm running out of time, and we will revisit it and continue to build on it. So Parama Udara. So we kind of went into the first line of this verse. Drishtim jnanamayim kritva pashyed brahmamayam jagat. Now we will see the second line, which is sa drishtihi parama udara. Sa drishti means ka drishti. Which one? Jnanamayim drishti. A truthful way of looking at the world is indeed Parama Udara. Parama Udara means is the best, is the real one. So we'll go into that next week. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gritam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaita Mritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvāmanusandadhāmi Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshinim Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangha Padakramo Panishadai Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavastita Tatgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam Na Vidussura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Excuse me. So last week we had finished up to second chapter, verse number 25. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryo ayam uchyate tasmadevam viditvainam nanu shochanti na anushochitum arhasi. So what the last few verses had talked about was that you are making a mistake about taking yourself to be, number one, sthula sharira, the gross body. You are not the gross body, it's a covering on you, but it is not you. It is kind of like a covering, like clothes. So it's a mistake to do shoka based on yourself taking to be the sthula sharira. Then in verse number 25, as you know, we went through this and saying, incidentally, not only that, but if you think that you may not be the sthula sharira, but you are the sukshma sharira, that also is a mistake. Because the sukshma sharira is also shiryamanatvat shariraha. It's something which is decaying. You are not decaying. You're different from it. But to take yourself to be the decaying linga sharira, that also is a mistake, and therefore the shoka resulting from that is unwarranted. Na shochitum arhasi. You don't deserve. That's not appropriate. You're making a mistake. It's not what it is all about. So this is what we had done up to last week. Now let us start today on verse number 26. Okay. So the verse number 26 is introduced with a paragraph which is given on, excuse me a second, let me silence this. Which is a paragraph given on page number 75 of this book. So, evam means in this manner. Samsara brahma vidvamsakam. Samsara brahma vidvamsakam means, in fact, let me read the whole sentence first and then I will break it down. Evam samsara brahma vidvamsakam atma yathatmyam, atma yathatmya vidyanam upadishya Shri Bhagavan etadrisha vijnanasya atma prasadena vina labdhum ashakyatvat arjune tad anudayam alakshya prakarantarena tad shokam apakartum iti aha athacha. So let's see the verse first. Yep, we should do that first, and then the introduction will make sense. So the verse number 26 says, if I can just do the chanting is an important thing. To chant it properly is a very important thing. I just went to a funeral day before yesterday of mother of a friend of ours. This lady passed away, and the Pandit, an Arya Samaj Pandit, conducted the ceremony of the funeral, and as it usually does, they all talked about vasansi jirnani yatha. So it took about 3 or 4 verses of the Bhagavad Gita and kind of spent some time explaining that. But the thing that struck me was he didn't know how to chant the Gita. And it just sounded very strange. That if you don't really, this chanting important, this is not Vedic chanting, this is Gita chanting. But it has to be done correctly so that it sounds good. So he was saying Vasansi, this, that or the other, it just was like a text, even though he was pronouncing it. So the correct way of chanting, which has, you have to understand how, from Swami Dayanandji, I remember he said that I learnt it from his teachers, and that has to be maintained. Chinmayanand and Dayanand Swamiji, both, they have the same intonation. So it goes like this: Atha chainam nitya jatam nityam va manyase mritam tathapi tvam mahabaho nainam shochitum arhasi. This is the way it should be pronounced. I don't know how the Pandit would have done it. Atha chainam nitya, I don't know. It just didn't. So anyway, this is the verse. So now we can explain it without chanting. Atha cha enam nitya jatam nityam va manyase mritam tathapi tvam mahabaho na enam shochitum arhasi. He says, Hey Mahabaho. Mahabaho is an epithet of Arjuna. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita that Arjuna had extremely long arms. It is somewhere, I don't know where it is given, I don't remember that, but his arms were as long as touching his knees. I'm sure you're all sitting down, but if you were to stand up and try doing this, our hands usually do not touch the knees. But you know, as it happens, it's interesting in this, I follow the basketball, the National Basketball Association, and there I see this. They say sometimes this person is not that tall. Not that tall means he's like 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". That's not supposed to be that tall. But their hands are extremely, they'll say the wingspan is so big that it enables them to really jump higher and grab the ball from others. So their arms are disproportionately long. I see this in the description of the players. Similarly, in football, for example, they will say that sometimes there will be a normal person in football, 6'2", 6'3" is good. But their hands are so big that they can grasp the football a bit better. Anyway, this is what is called Mahabaho. Mahabaho means the one that has long arms. Arjuna. Hey Arjuna. Nas enam shochitum arhasi. You don't deserve to be sad. When do you not deserve to be sad? He says, athacha. So atha means not only this, but for another reason. See, he has given the reasons not to be sad because of you are not the sthula sharira, you are not the sukshma sharira. Then the word atha is used. So the atha means tadantaram, prakarena, another way to look at it. This is what introduction is going to say. So that is just the word atha. He says, supposing you take a person to be born and it is going to die. Athacha enam. Enam means these people that you see, that you are worried about, that you are shoking. You're doing shoka, not shoking. You are doing the shoka for. Athacha enam nitya jatam. Means they are forever born. Nityam manyase mritam. Or they will be dead. Even in that case also, tathapi tvam mahabaho na enam shochitum arhasi. Even there, you don't deserve to do shoka. So this is the verse. Now the introduction. So he says, evam samsara brahma vidvamsakam atma yathatmya vijnanam upadishya. So let's just pause at this point. He says, in this manner, the yathatmya vijnanam of the Atma. Yathatmya vijnanam means the one which is the knowledge of what Atma really is. Yathatmya means truthful. If you see the truthfulness of the Atma, which will eliminate samsara brahma vidvamsakam, which is capable of negating samsara brahma, any kind of problems in your life. You're not touched by anything. So that is what is called samsara brahma vidvamsakam. What is the samsara brahma vidya? Samsara brahma vidvamsakam atma yathatmya vijnanam. So he says, evam, in this manner, the self-knowledge that has been already taught to you, which will remove all of your samsara, upadishya, having taught this, Sri Bhagavan, Krishna, Sri Krishna, etadrish vijnanasya atma prasadena vina labdhum ashakyatvat. And so Sri Bhagavan says that without knowing this, the Atma prasadena vina labdhum ashakyatvat. So without seeing this truth for yourself, it is difficult to understand all of this. Otherwise it will remain like a paroksha vidya. Paroksha vidya means, yeah, it's possible, but that doesn't apply to me. No. So he says, Atma prasadena, vijnanasya Atma prasadena. This is interesting. Just say vijnanam Atma prasadena. So this is what is talked about, the various layers of prasada. I wouldn't say layers, but different stages, I think, is a better way to do that. The various stages of the prasada. Stages of the prasada are Ishvara prasada. Prasada means blessing. Ishvara prasada is really the beginning. And Ishvara prasada also is not, it is, what's the word that I'm looking for? It is not accidental or incidental. It's not like Ishvara says, okay, let's make this guy happy. It's not like this. So Ishvara prasada also depends on where you are at any one time. If you have really having taken the birth as a human being, this is a very big thing. And then once you've taken the birth as a human being, then out of millions of people, a few people will look into the truth. That's also a very rare thing. And out of the millions of people who would look into it, very few people would really get it. And so this is what is called the stages of prasada. So you have Ishvara prasada, you have Shastra prasada, then you have the Guru prasada. Because the keys of the Shastras have to be opened by a Guru. Otherwise, the book is staying there. You have, a lot of people have Gitas in their homes. And they might even try to read it, as we all did at one time, I remember. Nothing happens because the keys are not there. So the Shastra Prasada has to be brought home by the Guru, who knows what it's all about, has a way of explaining that appeals to you. That is called Guru Prasada. Then there is a final Prasada. That is yourself. You have to be kind to yourself. You have to be a combination of many things. You have to be kind to yourself. You have to be brave to yourself. You have to have Shraddha, your own mind, that until you make a determination that I really want to look into this. This is what is called mumukshutvam. Until you have the mumukshutvam, Ishvara, Shastra, Guru, etc., they can only help you, but this is kind of like the final mile. This is called Atma Prasada. So look at this. This is very beautiful. All these, there is so much depth in each of these. So he says, Shri Bhagavan etadrisha vijnanasya atma prasadena vina labdhum ashakyatvat. So Krishna is teaching Arjuna. Arjuna is sitting there as a student listening to him. And Sri Krishna is giving him all of the reasons why he should not really be sorrowful. Vasansi jirnani, etc., avyaktyoham, etc. It does all of that. So this is where you can say Bhagavan Vacha means this is a very rare thing, because here the Ishvara himself is the Shastra, Ishvara himself is the Guru. It doesn't happen all that much. But in this particular case, so in some ways you can say that even the most powerful combination of forces has to wait for Atma Prasada. So this is what he's saying. Look at this. So he says in the beginning, Evam samsara brahma vidvamsakam atma yathatma vidyanam upadishya. Having done all of that, Sri Bhagavan etadrisha vijnanasya atma prasadena vina labdhum ashakyatvat. Sri Krishna knows that despite my teaching all of the things in the past, unless Arjuna's mind grasps this and gives the prasada to himself, without that, none of these things is ashakyatvat. Otherwise, it is not going to help. So therefore, then what? Tat anudayam alakshya. This is very important. He says, tat. What do you mean by tat? Tat is a pronoun. Tat refers to mean Vijnanam. Or you can even say Atma Prasadam. Vijnanasya Atma Prasad. Vijnana means the knowledge that has been transformed into Atma Prasada. So he says, Tat Anudaya Udayam. Udaya meaning the dawn. The dawn, the birth is called Udaya. Like the dawn of the sun, which gives light in the morning, is called Udaya. My brother's name is Udaya. Everybody calls him Uday. But it's really Udaya. So Udaya, Anudaya means has not dawned on him yet. He says, so this is what it means. He says, Sri Krishna is just sitting there and giving him all the Upadesha like this. And Arjuna also is listening and so on. But Sri Krishna says, despite the previous teaching, I don't see Atma Prasada in Arjuna. He says, so look at, I'll read the whole sentence. I mean, this is just a small 2-line introduction, but there's so much depth in it. He says, Tad Anudayam Alakshya means now knowing that the Atma Prasada has not dawned in Arjuna, because the Krishna being, you see, this is where the student and the guru have to be in proximity. I mean, I find this to be really a problem, because I don't see you. This is one of the limitations of this YouTube. It's not the way it should really be taught. This is what is called Antevasinaha. The Shishyas are called Antevasinaha, means they should be very close. The Guru should be able to look at the face of the student and see whether the student grasps it or not. And if not, then make another attempt to do that. And this is exactly what he's saying. I'll come back to that in a minute. Tat Anudayam Alakshya. He's saying he sees that the Atma Prasada has not yet occurred in Arjuna. Having seen that, Prakara Antarena Tat Shokam Apakartum Iti Aha. He says, knowing that this has not happened yet, he now provides another reason, a different reason. He says, this has not yet had the effect, because I have given him all of the fundamentals. I have given him all the basics. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaye, etc., etc., avyaktoyam, etc., sukshma sharira, sthula sharira, and all that. Therefore, you should not really be, you are not that. You are not the sthula sharira, you are not the sukshma sharira. Therefore, you don't need to be, just like, don't worry about it. If your clothes are torn, they're clothes. So what? What's the big thing? But he says, having done all of this, upadishya, nothing seems to have taken. That means Arjuna has not yet seen that the Atma Prasada is missing. Therefore, he says, oh my gosh, let me teach him another way. If this method has not yet had the effect, So prakarantarena tad shokam apakartum. Shokam apakartum is still the main goal. The main goal of the teacher is that this student's sorrow in life should be removed, so that he has not forgotten. That's the goal. But in order to make that goal, let me present this in another way. See, this is the thing. So I am spending more time on Sanskritam than I thought, and I hope it's okay with you. Because if it is not, then we need to think about some other ways of doing that. But so let me just finish the whole thing, so that at least those of you that are following the Sanskritam can get a whole meaning of that, now that we've explained the parts of it. So here's the whole thing. Evam samsara brahma vidvamsakam atma yathatma vigyanam upadishya Shri Bhagavan etadrisha vigyanasya atma prasadena vina labdhum ashakyatvat Arjune. In Arjuna tat anudayam alakshya. Sorry. I'm actually getting better, even though I still have some congestion and so on, but I think, and it takes me a long time, it's almost like a month, but it's getting better. Every day is getting better. So Shri Bhagavan etadrisha vigyanasya atma prasadena vina labdhum ashakyatvat Arjune tat anudayam alakshya. So he now addresses the fact that Arjuna has not yet gotten the Atma Prasad, some missing thing somewhere. Prakarantarena sat shokam apakurtum iti aha athacha. This is the introduction. Beautiful. See how the connections go. This is how the Mahatmas give a continuity, a sense of there is a. So Gita is not written kind of randomly. It's a very purposeful creation. That purposefulness is sometimes missing in our understanding, and so that is provided by the Mahatmas like Swami Shankarananda. So this is the introduction to the verse 26. Then the explanation itself is kind of short, but the whole topic is a new topic now. You see, this is a new topic. So up to now there was this topic about the you are not the sthula sharira, you are not the sukshma sharira. Here he says, even if you think this is a sthula sharira and sukshma sharira, even then you don't deserve to be sorrowful. This is a new topic. You see? So prakarantarena, this is a new topic, a new prakara, new method. This is a very beautiful method and a very important method, really speaking. If you look at this, this is also will go several verses. But this whole thinking, which we have to adopt, we have to think. It should not be just looking at Gita says this, Gita. This is the way we should think about in our life. And this is a very important way to go from paroksha jnanam to aparoksha jnanam. So this is the new method. So what is this? He says, so let me just do the explanation of the verse itself. Up to now it is the introduction, but very quickly, I won't spend much time on it. Just go on the verse number 26 itself. How much time do we have? Yeah, we still have enough time. Mahabaho iti sabhiprayam sambodhanam. So sambodhanam means it's just an address. Cha shabdaha yadi arthaha. So cha shabda means sometimes the word cha is used as normally as and. Here it should be used as yadi, if. So atha yadi enam nitya jatam. If you take, so the cha here is yadi artha, means that if you were to take this to be, even if you were to take this, that's the way to look at it. Even if you take the suksma and the sthula sharira and the suksma sharira to be what it is. He doesn't say real. It is not real. It is not as though it's real, but you take it to be what it is. Even then you don't deserve to shok. So this is yadi artha. Athava enam uktam atmanam nityajatam yada yada deha utpatti tada dehena saha jatum utpannam dehe mrite dehena saha enam nityam mritam cha mudha lokavat tum yadi manyase tathapi tasmin pakshepi evam na arhavayam hantum dhashtarashtran swabandhavan iti uktritya sochitum narhasi. This is it's kind of like a detailed explanation of the same thing, and I don't know why we want to go through the Sanskrit part of that. We don't need to do that. It's kind of complicated and it's not that relevant. Everything is relevant. I shouldn't say that, but in the explanation of this new method, we will see why this is just incidental. And so basically, so let me just now go over to verse number 27. So we've already explained this, that even if you take it to be what it is still not deserving of your shoka. And so now let us look at verse number 27 and 28. We'll do both of them. So let me chant it. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmat apariharyerthe natvam shochitum arhasi avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyakta nidhananyeva tatra ka paridevana. This number 28 is a very often quoted. You know, most of the verses in Gita are just absolutely marvelous. But there are some verses that are taken up as key verses again and again. And so there's so many of them, you know. So karmani eva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana was one. And then we did this number, is it number 12 or 13? Or 12. We saw number 12, it's a very famous verse. Just we already did that. No, sorry. It must be 14. I'm really off. Yeah, sorry, 16. I'm off completely. Na sato vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate sadaha, ubayopi drishtauntaha, tvanayo tattvadarshibhi. Number 16 is also a very famous verse, and so is number 28. So in fact, so much so that I think on our Tuesday night class, this was also quoted, or will be, I think, in the next class. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyakta nidhananyeva tatraka paridevana. So we will go into the meaning of this and spend a lot of time on this new method of looking at things. So let's go back to number 27. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu. Jatasya means that the one which is born, it's called jataha. So jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu means the death of a person who is born is certain. We do not find either the experience or the logic or the possibility of someone who is born and takes a form to keep that form timelessly. Whatever is born within time will be a function of time itself, and whatever expresses will go away. Whatever comes up will go away. Dhruvam means for sure, certain. Don't even doubt it for a minute. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu. And by the way, the opposite is also true. Dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Mritasya janma dhruvam. The one that has died will surely be born again. So this I can pause for a minute and just talk about, because I was really my doubt also, but now I've resolved it, and so when this is Sri Krishna talking, so you cannot question it. The only question is, you see, this is the thing. So either you have a doubt that you can clarify, but any of the Shastra's things you cannot question the validity of it. You can say, I don't understand it, that's okay, but you cannot question because it is the Siddhartha. So this is the Shastra, you cannot, this is truth, this is Ishvara's thinking. So here, very obvious that jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu. But I used to say, I don't understand mritasya janma dhruvam kam. How can you be certain that the one that is dead will for sure be born again? I don't get that. I can see the disappearance of something that I see, but once it is gone, is it not gone forever? Then, I don't remember whether I talked to this on my teachers or resolved it by myself for my thinking through their teachings, of course. Everything is based on their teaching or not. But anyway, what I found or what I reasoned was that here's the thing. You see, when someone disappears, like just this lady that died a couple of days ago, my gosh, the last month, there have been so many deaths. Just since middle of December, so in the last 2 months, about 5 or 6 people. That just amazing. So just like in this case, this lady has died, and so very obvious, she was 90, close to 90, and the body gives away, and then so you die. That's okay. But where is the proof that she will be born again? This I was not sure of until it was taught to me, and I reasonably understand that the Sukshma Sharira does not die with the death of the body. The Sukshma Sharira. Sukshma Sharira means what? What does that mean? Means, so this is sometimes, this is sometimes what is called the soul of the person. You see, this is sometimes this English word soul is there, S-O-U-L, which will say, may, so we often say, may God give peace to the soul of the person. So what is the soul of a person? So here in the Vedantic explanation, we've studied this in Atma Bodha, Tattva Bodha, the very basic texts and so on, that each one of us has a particular entity as a limited person. We have a status. We have an entityship. This is me, different from others. This is unique to me. I am somebody different from others. And so what do you mean by me? So me has 3 aspects to it. As you know, Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, and Karana Sharira. So the Karana Sharira means that it is it's an ignorant thinking. So the ignorance is called Karana Sharira. What do you mean by ignorant thinking? That means it's like akin to a room space. So if the space was made, in this example, if it was Chidakasha, a conscious Akasha, then when a room is made, then there is a sense of this is just me. I'm enclosed by the walls. So this sense, which is not correct, you're not enclosed by the walls. You are the total Akasha. But the ignorance of the totality of the Akasha referring to me is the Karana Sharira. Is the Karana Sharira. And then emanating from that is this Sukshma Sharira. Sukshma Sharira means, what am I? The various aspects of it. How am I affected? Sorry. So as a room space, who are my neighbors? What can affect me? I can get, I can be dark, or there may be pollution. So all those thoughts are Sukshma Sharira. And then if somebody were to ask you, who are you? They'll say, well, this is me. I'm enclosed in these walls. is the Sthula Sharira. So now when a person dies, what dies is the body. But the other two remain. The other two means the Karana Sharira, which means that I am still a limited person. And I don't want to be the limited person. I want to be unlimited. But what can I do? I am limited. This is the best I can do. Not only and because I am limited, I have to take another birth. I need to give expressions to my thoughts. I need to take a form. I need to transact with other people. So the Karana Sharira and the Sukshma Sharira remain. So therefore there will be another Sthula Sharira. There will be another expression. So this is why the second part of that is valid. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. It is for certain that's going to happen. Why is it certain it's going to happen? Because he's still there as a Sukshma Sharira and a Karana Sharira. So until the Karana Sharira is removed, therefore the Sukshma Sharira will also disappear, and then you're done. Then you become total Akasha, not a room Akasha. So he says, so this is an important thing, that this is just a game, not a game, but some kind of a process where you're born and you die. But because your ignorance is still there, your desires to become free are still there, you're already free but you don't realize it, but because of that, you'll be born again. So this will continue. This is all due to the Maya Shakti. You take yourself to be different than what it is. This is the ignorance of the rope which becomes like a snake. And so therefore he says, Tasmad apariharye arthe natvam shochitum arhasi. So he says, therefore, in this pariharya means, so let's look at the meaning of apariharya. Pariharya means one that can go away, one which can be violated, one which is not always true is called pariharya. Apariharya means one which is for sure. You cannot negate it. There's no way to falsify it. It's called apariharya. So he says, apariharye arthe, in this manner, this vishaya, which is truthful. What is the vishaya which is truthful? That what is born must die, and what dies must be born. Because of this, natvam shochitum arhasi. He says that you cannot, it doesn't deserve your sorrow because it is going to happen anyway. It's not something within your own control. So this is where Krishna used to say that, listen, you do your job as you're supposed to do. Are you going to save your people, the whom you have now a certain love for? How long are you? They are going to die anyway because they deserve to. They've done some bad things, and so we need to punish them. That's my job, Ishvara says. Don't take my job away from you. What are you doing? You're not responsible for it. They're already dead. If they might live a couple of more years or something, what difference does it make? Because they have a long history and a long future, and it's all going to happen. So for you to suddenly say, no, I don't want to really deal with this, and so on and so forth, you're taking unnecessary credit for being responsible for it, sir. No, absolutely not. So apariharye arte na tvam shochitam arhasi. And then in the next verse, then he gives the logic of it. This is a very important logic, and one, as I mentioned to you, we should think about. And what it is then he gives the basic logic. First, of example, he both of them are together. So the second verse, which is 28, is Avyaktadini bhutani. He says that bhutas means people who have some expression, some visibility as a person. Like when a new baby is born, or literally everybody, all of us are bhutas. We are all different kind of, and we have different personalities, different forms, different ages, and so on. So he says, bhutani avyaktani. At one time we were not visible. Yeah, I always talk to my 2-year-old granddaughter like this. And when I just look at her, honestly, and I talk to her also that way, I says, where did you come from? Who were you? I really wonder. But where she came from and who was she, you can get some clues of it. Touch wood, if she's healthy, if she's a human being, and she's born into a loving family that is taking care of her, that means that her background is deserving of that. But where she came from, I don't know. This is what is called avyaktadini bhutani. Not visible. Where was she? Then vyakta madhyani bharata. Hey Bharata. Bharata also is a sambodhanam to Arjuna. Hey Bharata, don't you see that each bhuta is at one time avyakta, then vyakta madhyani. In between it is vyakta. We will go into all these words later in Sanskritam. That they are visible, they are expressed. Then avyakta nidhanani eva. Pretty soon they will be gone. Sooner or later they become avyakta alone. They began by anvyakta, they are visible for a while, they become invisible again. And it's interesting that without the sthula sharira, without a gross body, a person is avyakta. You see, so for example, if a person is moving from one life to another, where that person is, how long that person is before taking up the next life as a gross body, we don't know. We have no idea. These are forces, these are laws of nature that are not meant for us to see. And so this is exactly what happens, that a person is born. Where was the person before that? How long was that person? When did he die or she die before? And how did that come up here? All these are all, laws of Ishvara, but all we know is that it happens. You cannot question that, because there's a continuity of life. So therefore, until a person takes Sthula Sharira, you are avyakta. This is what called the soul of the person stays. Sukshma Sharira and the Karana Sharira stays. And then, very interestingly enough, if you were to remove this ignorance that I'm just a limited person, should you and will, if and when, it's the right way to look at it, if and when the Karana Sharira goes and Sthula Sharira also goes, you think that the Atma is Vyakta? No. Atma also is Avyakta. You don't, right now we are Vyaktas. This is what is called Vyakti. Vyakti means a person who is a visible person. So we also take ourselves to be a Vyaktadini. Madhyam, Vyakta Madhyani. We all think about ourselves as Vyakta Madhyani. We are all visible. Really, we are not. Our reality is we are not visible. But so just like the reality of the person is, you are not a dreamer. Nothing is happening. It just looks like a dream. You are avyakta. Anyway, the point I'm making, and I'll finish with this, is that the avyakta stage has two aspects of it. One is avyakta when you are no longer a sthula sharira, as a gross body. Then you are also avyakta. And even when the karana sharira and the sukshma sharira goes away, you are still avyakta. That's a different avyakta, where it is no longer, so there is jnanamayim drishtim, no ajnanamayim drishtim, as we saw in the previous class. So anyway, so this method of looking at people is a different method of appealing to Arjuna if he does not grasp the enormity of the previous method. So this is the new method that Sri Krishna is now adopting, and we will continue to detail it out conceptually and point out the importance of it in the next few classes. So with that, I close the class today. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. the previous class. So anyway, so Keshav, you say Bhutani may be referred to Sukshma Sharira and is present in our body. So Bhutani means is a separate person. Appearance of a separate person is called Bhutani. That includes a Sukshma Sharira. It may include Karana Sharira. It includes Karana Sharira. It may include Sukshma Sharira and also Sthula Sharira. So that's what Bhutani refers to. Raj Vilpuri, when a bhuta is in a avyakta state, is it possible there is a collection of such bhutas that become vyakta to each other? I don't know about that. I doubt it. That's not the purpose of it. It is very possible. It is possible, I guess, that that people that have certain certain siddhis, so we don't really give much credence to siddhis, means powers. Their minds are so subtle that they may not need a sthula sharira to see someone. They might just be able to visualize them. That's a possibility, but it really is not of much importance. Siddhis are not, in fact, it's very possible that, that people say that you have various yogic siddhis, you can levitate and all those kinds of things. But in the sense of freedom, those are really obstacles that you don't need to do, because so what if you can levitate? So what you can read somebody else's mind? You are still a limited person. And there is no evidence that you become very happy with that. So if any of that references to those, so it's very possible that may be happening, but it's not really relevant and not very important, and should be dismissed as irrelevant to us. So that's the way I would respond, Raj, to your question. All right. Just on the side, we have been planning to have a retreat, and there's 7 or 8 of you that have confirmed. It is less than what I thought it would be. And I think, as we mentioned in today's class also, that sometimes a closeness, in-person closeness is an important aspect of the teaching. And so, since we don't have in-person classes here, we thought that perhaps at least we can have a residential retreat for a while. But from your response, it appears that you're pretty busy with other things, and I respect that. If it is still possible for you to change your programs, please do, because what we get out of it in a bunch of classes close together, and also with close proximity of discussion and so on, is something priceless. So if it is still possible, I will invite you to consider that. But if not, then I understand it, and you have your own life, and certainly. Anyway, I'll update you on the status of the retreat. Let me finish today, and then so maybe tomorrow I'll be in touch with Swamiji and also Shuddhatma, and we'll make a final decision. I think we'll probably go ahead with it, but I'll give you the final decision in the next in a few days. Okay? Good. All right. Hari Om. We'll see you next week.